Startuprad.io, your podcast and YouTube blog covering the German startup scene with news, interviews, and live events.
By the way, Chris, do you have any fancy Thanksgiving traditions? Since I do believe that's your 10th year in New York City, right?
Oh, 11.
11th year. Oh, congratulations, man. Any cool traditions there?
You know, I was usually invited to a family, but so far the invite hasn't come in 2 days before Thanksgiving, so I'm not gonna talk about it. We will see. But I have Friendsgivings going on.
That is cool. By the way, we're going back to the roots. I have done a lot of early podcasts with a cup of peppermint tea, and I'm going back to this. Chris, I do believe we're here for this month in DSA Startups November 2024, and you are the one who takes the lead, right?
So let's go. Welcome to our new November 2024 wrap-up with news from the startup and tech entrepreneurship scenes in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. Our startup news are recorded with me, Chris, in New York City, back from a Europe trip only yesterday. So my mind is all over the place in terms of time. And Joe is joining from Frankfurt officially. Hello, my friend.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Today's news cut is November 20th. This month we cut a bit earlier for 3 reasons. Number 1, there are a lot of news. Number 2, our next news will be published shortly before Christmas. So this is then only around 4 weeks away. Everyone is in the final sprint of the year. And 3, due to travel plans. As always, though, all news not included will be in our next news wrap-up. News cycle is picking up considerably. Last month, we plowed through 20 pages of raw, unstructured news we had collected, and now we had 36 pages to go through. And it will be a surprise for you listeners how many of them actually made it into the show. But we needed to cut it seriously, so you can have a brief news overview. First of all, happy Thanksgiving to all of you who celebrate today. We were hinting at it already. For me, I know it has a problematic past and history, but for me, being thankful makes it my most favorite holiday, actually.
Yeah, that's something I took with me as a tradition from the US, and it's actually a very great week to kick off Christmas season. Plus, we do on Friday a Thanksgiving turkey here in Germany with my family as well. There have been a few questions, a few outreaches to us, and so I would like to set our news in perspective a little bit. We're relying on other sources, mostly in Germany here, that we put together and give you a brief overview in 30 minutes or less. That's our goal. We check those sources, and normally sources like friendly Russian news bots does not make the cut. This also means we cannot cover everything, especially in a month where there's a lot of news. We have to drop articles and coverage. Yes, we have a news piece and blog post for us and other sources that contradict each other. This is unfortunately reality, and we're trying to give you a real picture of what is going on rather than a closed worldview, especially in terms of VC numbers, IPO, and M&A volumes. No source ever matches the others. Yes, that is maddening for us as well, right, Chris?
Yes.
With our own blog posts, we try to give you a broader view of the overall picture as well as with these news. Think about them as small piece of a bird's eye view, especially in our blog posts. That's where we try to cover something nobody else does, especially focused on GSA. With our regular startup interview, we zoom in much further. This should give you a great picture of what is going on in the regional startup scene. And our news is just a starting point for all of you who are doing this for professional reasons and are serious about it. That's why we provide a source link. And also, we know around 80% of you out there are listening to this for professional reasons. So, Chris, as always, you are our highlights guy.
Yes, that is true. So, also, as always, we saw in the past couple of weeks many significant challenges and breakthroughs in the countries that we covered, Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. About a couple of them, we will talk a bit more in depth. Let me just give you like a very brief overview about some of the highlights. First off, German air taxi pioneer Lilium filed for insolvency, underscoring the funding difficulties in the electric vertical takeoff and landing sector, while Volocopter navigated similar headwinds with a new CFO appointment. We see that fintech giant Solaris is reportedly exploring options to raise funds or sell itself after a sharp decline in user accounts. And we also found more optimistic news. The GSA region saw successes like Vienna's Cubicure achieving a 79 million euro exit, and Berlin-based Quantune raising 135 million euros to develop a wearable device for diabetics. This is the worst sentence for German. Develop a wearable device for diabetics, marking a step forward in tech startup news.
Chris, I do my best to make it hard for you.
V&W. After 11 years, it's still a struggle. As said before, we threw out most fundraising announcements below 10 million euros or US dollars, but we still have almost $250 million in new funding in this news update today. European startups continue to show resilience despite a challenging funding environment. We have Atomico's State of European Tech 2024, which says that the continent now hosts 35,000 early stage startups, a fourfold increase in the past decade, and putting cities like Berlin and Vienna on the map as global innovation hubs. Highlights this month include Aleph Alpha's AI partnership with Deutsche Bank and 415 Capital's 150 million euro fund announcement for medical innovation. So yeah, we see that Europe's influence in the startup scene is growing. Investors are being attracted even in the middle of political and economic uncertainty. So let's get going with more updates. First off, though, you have some scheduling to announce.
Yes, expect the next news to drop every Thursday a month, and our last regular news episode will go live on December 19th. We have to take a little break during the holidays and be back around January 9th with the next news going live on January 30th. There are only a few exceptions to this rule. They include the summer wrap up on Labor Day each year, first Monday in September, where we wrap up July and August. Chris, I do have a question for you. I'm already done with my Christmas present shopping even before the Black Week. How about you? Are you last minute shopper?
Nervous laughter on my end. Of course, I haven't shopped anything yet. And yeah, what can I say? All I'm saying is, I guess it's different when you have children.
On average, Germans will spend 533 euros, something like 550, 560 US dollars for all the Christmas presents, according to a IDW study. Our podcast, video and audio will go live during different times on Thursday, November 29th. As always, we try to publish our audio podcast very early, 6 a.m. German time, and the video podcast goes live during noon. Our enablers, this recording is supported by HTI and the Enterprise Europe Network, and our partner Modern IQs, where you can get 2 free SEO pieces a month. Chris, heading over to the top 5 news.
Let's do it. So, I already hinted at it. Air taxis are still riding headlines, and Volocopter got a reprieve with government funding. Lilium, though, in Germany did not, and had to file for insolvency now, despite being IPOing and Nasdaq in the past. If you're reading between the lines here, it seems as if funding for both has dried up a bit, and Volocopter has treated its early backers badly enough, so that crowdfunding may not be an option right now. You can be sure, though, that Lilium also took a look at issuing new shares, but had to decide against it. So, yeah, I mean, it's still like a wild sector to me because no one really knows when it will finally take off. But still, yeah, I don't know. It seems like it's also an industry that is so much connected to the times we live in, and probably with so much criticism against airlines in general in terms of climate change. How big is the hunger actually for these for these kind of companies? Volocopter also considered a SPAC deal that fell through in 2021. So yeah, we really see that both companies are struggling to get funding for the air taxi plans to get to mass production. And on top of it all is that way of transportation is not really approved yet anywhere else. So or anywhere. So it's a tough job. But since we are the hopeful podcast here, we obviously appreciate them fighting on for their big dream. Lilium, as we said, filed for insolvency amid financial struggles. We have some more in-depth analyses in our show notes about this. The German air taxi manufacturer had several unsuccessful attempts to resolve its cash crisis, despite their plans to revolutionize urban travel with the eVTOL aircrafts. The company faced significant funding challenges and regulatory hurdles. The shares have plummeted. The anticipated 100 million euro loan from German state-owned bank KfW was blocked, and that further exacerbated their financial woes. They are also looking for investors in Saudi Arabia now, it seems. And they also face a potential class action lawsuit in the US. Investors are alleging that they were misled about the company's financial health and technological capabilities. So, yeah, we also see that they have legal challenges moving forward, which definitely makes funding even harder. Volocopter, though, on the other hand, I already said it, appointed a new CFO in the middle of all these industry challenges. His name is Oliver Vogelgesang. It's a strategic move that the company uses to navigate the landscape in urban air mobility, because also, obviously, this guy needs to strengthen the financial leadership within the company and also secure necessary funding. An uphill battle there, too, definitely. Moving on to a different industry, Aleph Alpha partners with Deutsche Bank to enhance AI capabilities. Aleph Alpha being a leading AI startup, now in that strategic partnership with like a very traditional German bank. I guess in the 80s or 70s, you would say this is like the epitome of German industrial and company pride. The collaboration aims to leverage Aleph Alpha's advanced AI models to enhance the bank's services, particularly in natural language processing and in data analysis. So they're looking to make significant steps in integrating AI into the financial services of a big traditional company like Deutsche Bank. Solaris, the Berlin-based fintech firm, has experienced a significant decline in its account numbers, dropping from nearly 8 million during high times to now only approximately 2 million at last disclosure. So basically losing 75% of the customers. The reduction is primarily due to the loss of major clients, including Trade Republic and Vivid Money. They have transitioned to other banking partners, but despite the setback, Solaris remains committed to its banking as a service model, focusing on partnerships and technological innovation to regain its market position. The company is actively seeking new collaborations to expand its service offerings and enhance customer experience. They are either raising funds or selling the bank outright. So also a bit of a troubled story here, leading to a bigger scope where we can see that also the political scene offers or provides uncertainty for startups in Germany because the German coalition government collapsed, as many of you might know, basically the Germans woke up the day after the US election to Donald Trump winning the election, and they went to bed with their own government falling apart. That must have been quite a wild Wednesday for the Germans. And now we see that the end of that coalition government, which was the Social Democratic Party, the Green Party, and the pro-business Liberal Party, that this end of this coalition introduces significant uncertainty as experts anticipate delays in funding programs like the 12 billion euro WIN initiative, which potentially could be postponed until 2026. This also obviously disrupts financial planning and growth prospects for emerging companies, and it underscores the need for a stable government to foster innovation and economic development. So troubling times here as well, or turbulent times at least. Those are the big stories that we have. Let's talk about ourselves.
Yeah, I do believe that's also a big point in, we will later see that the business climate also took another dive. I do believe this uncertainty and that there is currently no government in full power right now. We'll have an election, I do believe, in February, right, Chris? Sometime in February, because the Liberal Party left a 3-party ruling coalition, and you can really tell that the economy would be in need now of a government-funded stimulus program. But since they don't have a majority anymore, that is going to be a pretty bad winter, I do believe. Housekeeping and time to brag. We're dissecting Atomico's report State of European Tech 2024. It has a mere 366 pages, and we're currently crafting a series of posts on our blog to give you the most important information in bite-sized pieces. We found a pretty high-level article on FAZ, Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung, one of Germany's most circulated newspapers, I would say. This is a translation. The future might look brighter for Europe, according to State of European Tech reported by Atomico. The report highlights that Europe currently boasts 35,000 early stage tech startups, more than any other region worldwide. This is a 4-fold increase over the past decade. More entrepreneurs have launched new startups in Europe than in the US. 2024, 16,000 individual founders were found in Europe for the report. There's also significant progress in startup funding, at least in the early stage. In 2015, London was the only city in the global top 10 startup hubs by funding raised for early stage startups. This year, London has claimed the second place globally, with Berlin and Paris joining the top 10. According to Atomico, Europe's investment in startups are growing faster than in any other region. Over the past decade, the average annual growth rate of startup funding in Europe has been 13%. By comparison, the US saw an average growth of 8% and China lagged with just 2%. They also are pretty upbeat. Atomico writes, we're seeing more startups, more ambitious ideas built to solve harder problems. The overall universe of companies has grown 4.7 times in the last decade, with as many early stage companies as any other region, and an 8-fold increase in growth stage firms. As we said, have a look at our blog. I do believe we're currently at a stage where this is dissected into 16 different blog posts. If you're interested working with us, reach out, subscribe, and follow on our link tree. And I hand over the ecosystem to Chris again.
I feel as if I get to do all the good parts today. So first off, let's look at the worldwide ecosystem for startups. We found a couple of articles and analyses there that we think are worth talking about. Forbes.com, for example, writes about the question, or asks the question, if the software as a service era might be ending. The article is about rethinking software's role in modern business. Sifted has a couple of VC predictions for the fourth quarter of 2024, which we're right in the middle of. What startup and investors need to know. You can find the link in our show notes. Then we have the third annual ESG fintech 100 highlights. the third annual ESG FinTech 100, which highlights innovators transforming sustainability in finance. And we see that global VC investments in impact startups fell by 25%. It's a tough year for sustainable innovation, it seems. And Pioneer's post has a bit more about that. Zooming in on Europe, deep tech opportunities are showing there. Deep tech innovations in Europe hold a 9.3 trillion euro potential, says an article in Trending Topics. Question is, are we ready to unlock it? The European Space Deep Tech Innovation Center is here. An article about this is on startupticker.ch, so in Switzerland. And VC funding for femtech in Europe seems to be going quite well. They hit a record number this year, so women's health innovation seems to be thriving. Zooming even further in, Germany. Munich is becoming Europe's hub for investor education, shaping the future of funding, says vcmagazin.de. Germany's economic advisors predict a challenging year ahead. The question remains is if startups can weather the storm. So, the German economic outlook still being rather grim, and the German economy in general having much more trouble than other industrialized Western countries.
We may add that this forecast is from the Economic Advisor Council of the German federal government.
So yeah, smartest people we have for these questions, probably, apart from you. Related to this is also the Ifo Business Climate Index that we talk about in each of our shows. Sentiment there is that companies in Germany feel even heavier. So the outlook has become gloomier, and the index fell to 85.7 points, down from 86.5 points in October. German startup formation declines, so meaning fewer startups are founded in Germany right now. Question is, what can rejuvenate the ecosystem in 2025, says Handelsblatt.com. Business Insider has an article in which experts predict a surge in IPOs for next year. So, or like where they raise the question. So question is, are startups ready to go public? Tech parks in Germany are the subject of an article on transcript.de, and their need to have their own ecosystem. So to thrive. We see that unicorn sightings dwindle as market valuations adjust, says FAZ, so the biggest conservative newspaper in Germany. Question there that they raise is if the startup bubble might be deflating. And in Lower Saxony, Germany is getting into the weed business. The first legal cannabis distribution begins there. And everyone is wondering, so it's pretty heavily regulated, but everyone is wondering whether this can become a relevant business. So then after the cannabis, I will just say this. And that's it for the ecosystem. Now you can move on and talk about some of the most important hubs and what's going on in specific cities in Germany.
Mm-hmm. Talked about highlighting some hidden gems here. Frankfurt Rhein-Main Scavenger AI has already made significant headlines here. They've been also guests with us, and they land some major clients for its innovative software. Learn more at brutkasten.com or in the interview from us. Ivoca raises £200 million funding with German headquarters in Frankfurt to support small businesses with flexible financing. So that means they're headquartered in London and their German headquarter is in Frankfurt. SME get a boost. The company has 400 employees spread across London and Frankfurt. Emma Mattresses, yes, known from our interviews. UK regulators use Emma Mattress startup for misleading marketing transparency. in advertising is under scrutiny there. And we do have, we do have the Dutch neobank Bank now offers equity trading. The blog Finance Forward learned that the custody feature is made possible by Frankfurt-based Ginmon in the background. Berlin-based Analytics backs 8 million euros. Interestingly, we just had an interview with them last week. We talked before the interview about the fundraising, but we could not tell about it because it was not announced yet, so it's not part of the interview. Passau, my muesli, what would we say, is there an equivalent in the US? It's basically putting together your favorite breakfast cereals. Their valuation plummeted to 30 million euros, which is pretty good because many startups would aspire to be valued at 30 million euros. But a former stock market hopeful was rumored at a 250 million valuation at the IPO. So that is quite a drop. Leer in Ostfriesland. Chris, how to explain Ostfriesland? It's on the very northern. It's on the shores of Germany, of the North Sea, right? It's pretty flat.
It's very flat, and actually, a very good friend of mine teaches business at their university.
Okay. Industrial software firm Futero acquires Orga Data, signaling a new growth in the sector. Chris, you are the Austria guy.
Yes. So also a couple of hub news in Austria. I already spoke about Cubicure because they had a 79 million euro exit. It's a Vienna-based 3D printing startup. And so congratulations to them. That's quite a significant number. We see that a medtech company in Steyr, an Austrian state. Good Lord. Looking for the word. The Styrian medtech company filed for insolvency with 16 million euros in debt. Quite a blow for the health tech sector there. We see that Bitpanda is exploring a potential Frankfurt IPO. It's Bitpanda, as a little reminder, is an Austrian crypto company. And we see that the Green Startup Center, that Austria opened a Green Startup Center in Leoben. I have to apologize if any Austrians are listening and I don't know how to pronounce their city.
Chris, don't worry about it. You told us you're still jet lagged.
Yes. No particular news from Switzerland now, but we will get back to a couple of big fundings there later on, because now we are moving on to the general news section with VC news and new funds in case someone is looking for money. As always, just a selection. We already talked about that Germany sees a decline in active startup investors. We see that Berlin's startup scene faces also venture capital shakeup. Question is here how to navigate that evolving investment landscape. Manager Magazine has an article about this. Nico Rosberg, former Formula One driver, his venture fund is investing in Tourlane and MedKit Dog. We have a couple of articles about this, and Impact VC is expanding into Germany. They are launching an own chapter pushing sustainable investing there. And 415 or 415 Capital announced a 150 million euro second fund to support breakthrough innovation in medtech. Moving on to green tech.
Yes, Chris, I hear sirens in the background, so you're off the hook for the bagel today. BASF to build the world's largest heat pump, pushing the boundaries of sustainable energy. Going to the fintech news, as we said, Bitpanda considers an IPO in Frankfurt this time. N26 revenue milestone. They hit 440 million euros in revenue, but still keep growing. Fintech's Qplix raises 25 million euros from Partech. The fintech counts also Deutsche Bank amongst its investors, and Finanzen.net sold, including Neobroker. Finanzen.net, the website sold, including its neo-broker by Axel Springer, in a strategic shift in fintech. According to the report, the transaction is valued around 400 million euros. Trade Republic expands. They're exploring new opportunities, launch a crypto app Alpha Link, and Right Capital struggles, filed for insolvency. They struggle to find new investors to keep operating. Going into general news, Kaufland and Google partnership. Kaufland has for me been always a pretty conservative retailer, but they now partner with Google for tech forward initiative. Amazon exits food delivery in Germany. Amazon shut down its grocery delivery in Germany, but they are now partnering with Knusper. So how would you translate Knusper, Chris? Like crispy?
Yeah.
Something like this.
Yeah.
They partner with Knusper, not really for delivering fresh food, but packaged food. Tesla loses market share in Germany. They struggle to maintain their market share in Germany as competition heats up. Cantaneo acquisition, brand engagement network acquires Munich Cantaneo for $195 million US. Startup talent challenges. Startups crave international talent, but visa delays hold them back. German court rules Facebook users affected by data breach are eligible for compensation, but in Germany that won't be that much. Related to that, Meta's 797 million euro fine from the EU for antitrust violations. Big tech, bigger consequences. Volkswagen partners with Rivian. They bet 5.8 billion US on a Rivian partnership to enhance software capabilities. Volkswagen has been quite in the news because they are doing pretty bad, and hopefully their bet will work. Accessible e-commerce giant iAble proves accessible online stores drive revenue. Inclusion wins and B2B SaaS rising stars. Sifted ranks Europe's top B2B SaaS startups for 2024. Who is climbing the charts? There are 9 startups from Berlin, 2 each from Vienna and Munich. There's 1 startup from Zurich, Düsseldorf, Dresden, Kiel, and Stuttgart. Going a little bit into die schöpferische Zerstörung, the creative destruction. No insolvency, but cutting headcount here. Personius layoffs. They lay off 115 employees. Green energy hydrogen startup HH2E files for insolvency. EV supplier Quantron files for insolvency. And Lift Heroes. Lift Hero, they are an elevator startup. They file for insolvency. Aufzugshelden is it called in Germany. Another tough chapter in the book of a hardware startup. Chris, you want to do the high notes, right?
More like tragic heroes, I guess. So yeah, successful fundraisings and exits, as always, just a small selection. Now, basically, our threshold has become 10 million euros, Swiss francs, or US dollars or more. So let me just gallop through a couple of them. Monte Rosa Therapeutics inks a billion-dollar deal with Novartis. They are working on targeted protein degradation.
And Chris, one reason this didn't make it into the headlines or into our overall count, this is potentially worth 1 billion. That's why it is there. But
yes. Good clarification. Alentis Therapeutics secures $181 million in Series D funding, a biotech company. The Exploration Company raises $160 million for reusable spacecraft development. Berlin's Quantun secures 135 million euros to develop a wearable for diabetics. Blacklane attracts Saudi Arabia's PIF in its latest funding round worth 60 million euros, working on global expansion there. AI Gnostics raises $34 million in a Series B to advanced AI-powered pathology. Ocean Loop gains backing from the European Investment Bank EIB, advancing sustainable aquaculture. Tourlane raises 25 million euros as Sequoia keeps faith in travel startups. Question here is if the whole industry might be rebounding, so the industry being travel tech. Local Stack secures $25 million to advance its cloud developer platform. KLIM secures 22 million euros to expand its regenerative farming platform globally. Agriculture here meeting innovation, I'd say. Zurich-based fintech Wyden, WYDEN, secures $16.9 million to fuel global growth. They are a company working in wealth management. Meaty Air lends 12 million euros to scale its AI-driven medical imaging solutions. HTGF also 12 million euros to finance as a financing round for to advance AI-driven medical imaging solutions. Dunia AI secures $11.5 million to revolutionize data analytics. Tozero, I guess, raises 11 million euros in seed funding to revolutionize battery recycling. A huge problem in the future of mobility, I'd say. Validation Cloud raises $10 million to enhance blockchain infrastructure. Big XYT gets 10 million euros in funding. It's a German data analytics firm in order to come up with smarter insights. So it's an analytics company. Validation Cloud secures another $10 million to scale blockchain infrastructure. And Deutsche Bank invests in Qplix, QPLIX, in order to innovate wealth management platforms. And that's all I got for you for the fundraisings and exits. Is that it?
That's it. I do believe that's a wrap, man. We do have a few articles stay ahead of the curve. Plus, as I said, we have an upcoming series of more than 10 blog posts for the Atomico survey. So stay tuned, everybody. Keep safe and enjoy your Christmas time. We will be back shortly before Christmas. Plus, I did send out today's email for participation in the fintech review. So that will be also coming along shortly before the holidays. Thank you, everybody. Chris, it was a pleasure as always to work with you.
Thank you. Once again, happy Thanksgiving. Tschüss.
Have a good day, guys. Bye-bye.
That's all, folks. Find more news, streams, events, and interviews at www.startuprad.io. Remember, sharing is caring.